Hey, good morning and good afternoon, everyone. This is Jason Harris. I'm an evangelist with Panoply. We're going to get started in about 1 minute. We're just going to give folks a second to sign in and go to webinar up and running on their computers. So just hold tight for about 30 more seconds and then we'll get started with the presentation. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. I wanted to thank everyone for joining us, both our panelists and you, the attendees. Thanks for setting up some time today to learn along with us about Kimberly-Clark and how they've been using Panoply, and also a little bit about Panoply and Tableau. We're going to go ahead and get started now. Wanted to talk about who our presenters are. On the Kimberly-Clark side, you're going to hear from Helena, Carre, and Robert Bamforth. Helena is an EMEA omni-channel analytics professional, and Robert is an account manager. On the Panoply side, you're going to hear from Jason Harris. That's me. I'm an evangelist, and you're also going to hear from Matt Lebrano, who is a data architect. He's going to be here at the end for our questions and answers to answer any technical questions or anything that come up about Panoply. And then last but not least, from Tableau, we have Riley Maris, who is on the technology partner side. We want to thank everyone for joining us today. This is going to be a very interactive discussion. We would like for you to please ask questions as they come up. Go ahead and use the chat feature in GoToWebinar to queue up your questions. I will be monitoring them, and then at the end, we'll answer all of them in line. So go ahead and ask them now, and then we will look at them and answer them at the end. And it doesn't matter if it's for Tableau, for Panoply, or for Kimberly-Clark. Whoever you have a question for, go ahead and put it in, and we'll answer it for you. So let's first talk a little bit about Panoply. Panoply is a smart data warehouse for business intelligence. We have some clients, as you can see on the right-hand side. We have more than 100 customers now. We're based in San Francisco, and we also have an office in Tel Aviv. We want to democratize data for all users, and you'll hear a lot about that in Kimberly-Clark's usage of us in the presentation. A smart data warehouse is one that is able to ingest data from multiple sources and is able to make that data queryable. So it doesn't matter if you're talking about Google Analytics data, Facebook ads data, data from Postgres, from wherever. You can bring it all into Panoply. Like I said, we have a lot of integrations. You'll see them on the next page. So you can bring data in and query it all in one location. We are a cloud warehouse, so you don't have to worry about revving up a on-premises data store, data warehouse. We take care of all that. And then one thing that we do that makes us really great is we optimize queries. We use machine learning and artificial intelligence to automate a lot of the overhead and management of having a data warehouse. And then our AI is always optimizing your queries and also using materialized views to make sure that your data is served up fast and efficiently. We have 150 plus integrations for data and business intelligence. No matter where you're bringing data in or whatever BI tool you're using to visualize or make insights on it, we integrate with it. If you want to see our integrations, go ahead and go to panoply.io/integrations, and you can see all of them and search for the one that you're looking for. So now I'm going to turn it over to Helena and Robert, and again, thanks for joining, Helena and Robert, and go ahead. I will manage the slides for you, so just let me know when you would like me to turn over the slides.
Cool. Hi, everyone. I'm just going to take a few moments now to talk through some of the challenges that we have faced at Kimberly-Clark. So I'm sure many of you will be aware about the costs associated with retailer supplied data sources and how important it is to ensure we're using this data effectively. So through my experience, I found that downloading data from retailer sources to be extremely manual, clicking through and manually downloading multiple reports needed and then manipulating the data afterwards, I found can take up to 8 hours. So a few hours to find the reports, a few hours to run the reports, and a few hours to wait for them to download before then manipulating them. This all takes time and very manual. So Panoply and Tableau have offered a solution that we'll go into more detail on later to enable us to automate this, but also save the time of having to download these reports on a daily or weekly basis. Further to this, we have faced internal challenges where limited functions have sight of the data that maybe the account managers are using on a daily basis. So Panoply and Tableau have enabled us to create this report where we're able to share this internally with our counterparts, such as the guys in sales, marketing, category, whatever function. They're now using this data to drive their decision-making on a daily basis. And finally, we weren't previously looking at our data sources from an omni-channel perspective. We might be looking at it from an in-store perspective and an online perspective in silos. But this report now allows us an automated refresher report that we can look at both online, in-store, whether that be petrol forecourts, all in one report to see where we're winning and where we might be losing and make corrective action. So just in summary, the key challenges we're facing are the costs, the manual process of obtaining that data, the time it takes to run the reports and download the data, the inability to share the reports in a user-friendly format across the business, and finally, we weren't able to analyze the data in an omni-channel focus. Next slide.
So next slide, please. Yeah, so let's talk about the solution with Panoply. So we decided to run a proof of concept. We invited 2 other vendors, and we have had a very clear measure of success. We measured the success as being the percentage of time saved and the flexibility of the tool to plug into either visualization tools like Tableau or advanced analytics such as R or Python. So we've chosen a Panoply, and now we have tested all the data sources that are delivered via email alerts, for example, CSV files saved in an FTP folder, web platforms, so they basically scrape the data programmatically, and also Panoply was able to deliver multiple export call APIs or more simpler APIs as well. In minutes, we were able to connect to Tableau or, again, R, Python, Alteryx. We have now a playpen because I'm able to join different tables from different retailers or from different data sources. We have the optimized performance, so we did test it. So with one SQL environment versus the one that Panoply provides, and the performance was way superior. All the compliance with the internal security and risks have been met by Panoply, and obviously we have been getting great service and support. So even like more advanced SQL coding, I'm able to rely upon Panoply services. So next slide, please, Jason. Rob is going to talk about the results.
So the initial results are quite remarkable. So after the first initial 2 to 3 hour briefing we had with Panoply, within 3 weeks, we saw the first results with 100% accuracy. And to put that into perspective, if we were to go through our conventional IT resources internally, this could have taken up to about 6 months. So we now have a fully automated report that is refreshed on a daily or weekly basis to suit the retailer data source, that now saves the time that I spent, and I know some of my account managers spent downloading and manipulating that data. We now have a data-driven culture, so functions across the business are now able to access and visualize the data in a user-friendly format, which has also created a legacy through empowering people that are now using the tool to drive their daily decision-making through using this data. On to the next slide.
So let's talk about the return on investment. So we basically calculated the business value only from the proof of concept phase at $250,000. This was based on estimates based on like KC resources saved. So our, let's say, Rob's time or category manager's time or marketing people time, that they take to manually download reports. Business analyst time as well, either from IT or from outsourced companies. And obviously, we've used Gartner and Forrester's value to analytics in using from the business side. So we've come up with a $250,000 plus a year, again, only from the proof of concept. So next slide, please. So how easy was to do all of this? So as Rob mentioned, we've taken a couple of hours in the briefing stage where we talked to a technical person from Panoply, and they've gathered the requirements. We've shown how the data, we received the data, either in a web platform or email, etc. And then in a couple of weeks, per source, they've come back to us with the 100% accuracy and the data already in an SQL environment. And with a couple of minutes, if not seconds, we were able to connect to Tableau. And then finally, voila, we were able to create visualizations and plug into more advanced analytic tools so that we could add value to the business. So once again, from a 6 months in average delivery time with the more sort of traditional routes via IT, we were able to accomplish a much faster process that we were able to deliver in 2 to 3 weeks, a fully automated dashboard. So the next slide, please. I wanted to show how it looks like, the Panoply UI looks like. You can see here aligned with the value of the self-service analytics culture. You can simply write a simple SQL code. You need to, if you're using AWS, you need to follow the code in AWS. If you're using other systems, you use the SQL code, Teradata, etc. And it is quite simple. You can see the data highlighted. You see the table on the right with the columns as well, so it's quite user-friendly. The next slide, please. And then here with Tableau, you can see very quickly how easy it is to plug into using their connectors. So for this case in particular, Russia example, we use the Amazon Redshift. Again, you only input the server, the port, the username, the database name, and password. That's it. Boom, done, connected to Tableau. So Rob now is going to talk, next slide, please, talk about how we've been using the data and the visualizations in at Kimberly-Clark.
Yes, so this is one of the outputs we've got from using Panoply and also Tableau to visualize the data. What this enabled us to do is look at the data right through from a retailer, variant, pack format, right through to SKU level data, and really see what's driving our business results and where there are areas to improve. So you can see on the screen there, it's got your sales data, your customer data, and it's really allowed us to identify where, if we're doing something right, can we replicate that in the year to go, or if there's something not going quite right with the data, we can quickly drill down through using this automated report to find out where the focus area needs to be and how we can improve those results. Next slide, please.
So as you guys can notice, this is a win-win-win situation where we, as KC, we gain time, agility, we save money. The retailers receive more sort of timely fashioned insights, actionable insights, and the functions also benefit from it because they learn how the tool works, they have more access to the data, and they can make better decisions themselves using data. So I just wanted to highlight we are now democratizing the data to other major strategic initiatives at the company, which again is aligned with the data-driven culture that Kimberly-Clark is always aiming for. So next slide, please. So what we've learned from it. we've realized that Kimberly-Clark have benefit from working and partnering with those nimble and flexible startup companies such as Panoply. And we'd like to highlight a quote from Gartner, actually, that organizations, remembering that we are a multi-billion-dollar company, we no longer should be focused on standard structure and control only, but business results. And business results working with flexible and creative companies as well to drive the future, because technology is evolving really fast. So that's it from us, and I'd like to hand over to Riley from Tableau.
Great. Thank you, Helena and Robert, and thank you, Panoply, for having me on today. My name is Riley Maris, and I'm on the Product Marketing Tech Partners team at Tableau, where I help develop and drive our joint messaging and go-to-market plans with our technology partners. I also get the opportunity to work with our amazing customers, like Kimberly-Clark, to communicate their Tableau story. So I want to continue to build on the value that Tableau and Panoply brought to Kimberly-Clark, and I'll start by reiterating some of those self-service analytics challenges that our customers, Kimberly-Clark included, often face before evaluating an analytics platform. So we often see that companies have, very siloed data. They have late access to consolidated data, which really forces a guessing game when they're reacting to market events. They don't have the ability to combine all of these disparate data sources into a single place. We also see different departments within organizations using disparate analytics solutions. There's redundant data storage where, there might be the same data being passed around, but there's no single source of truth. Numbers don't add up, where, the sum of the components don't add up to the total. And then lastly, that really contributes to not having a holistic 360-degree view of the business. Next slide, please. So let's look at what Tableau really brings to the table. We often think about the Tableau platform as being built on 4 pillars. Those are powerful analytics that drive business value. So that really, speaks to the unlimited analytics for deeper understanding and, the ability to integrate and leverage advanced analytics, things like R and Python integration with Tableau, as well as speed to insight. There's fast adoption at scale across all skill sets. Tableau it prides itself on being a really intuitive and easy to use platform, and it provides immediate value to the user. Third would be the ability and flexibility to leverage existing technology investments. Tableau is really designed to fit and not dictate. So we want to enable you to extract value from your existing investments, as well as to use Tableau to flex to meet changing requirements. And then lastly, it's a mission-critical analytics platform. So it provides you with breadth and depth of enterprise capabilities. It allows you to extend existing security protocols, and it provides you with governance that really doesn't restrict the business. Next slide, please. So a little bit more granular look at the Tableau platform here. You can see it's an end-to-end analytics platform, all the way from data access. We saw Helena and Robert highlight how easy it is to connect to data wherever it lies. Tableau gives you the ability to either connect live to that data and leverage, technologies, data accelerators, and platforms like Panoply, as well as take a snapshot of data and bring it into Tableau's fast data engine. We also provide you with the ability to prep data with a new tool called Tableau Prep. We have the ability to provide you governance over your entire platform from a Tableau server perspective. So the ability to have centralized and certified data sources. We'll enable you to allow your users to discover content on their own through projects and recommendations, up to analytics, the ability to create calculations and again, integrate with those advanced analytics platforms. And then lastly, collaboration, the ability for anyone in your organization to discover insights at the speed of just asking and answering a question on the fly. Furthermore, we give you the flexibility of deployment, whether you want to deploy on-premise, in the cloud, or a fully hosted version in Tableau Online. Next slide, please. So I want to go back and sort of summarize again and reiterate some of the business outcomes that we saw with Kimberly-Clark after implementing Tableau on Panoply. So because of Kimberly-Clark's large and complex data sets, Helena and Robert and their team often called upon IT resources to help them design queries and ETL processes for business intelligence questions before they could actually visualize them in Tableau. So the Tableau and Panoply solution really addressed the data wrangling and analytics needs faced by their team. And it saved, in turn, the company an immense amount of time and headcount for that matter. So, they highlighted that the team saved 8 hours per week on just one regional retail report, which was the equivalent of $250,000 every 2 years. So this was, a huge return on investment. Furthermore, it provided them with deeper insight throughout the business. So a while back when we talked to Helena, she talked about Tableau and Panoply and how they provided Kimberly-Clark with a playground where they could adjust data sets for ad hoc discoveries. And she made the analogy that it was like a data pro without a sandbox is like a painter without a canvas. And that sandbox was something that just wasn't available with existing solutions. And then lastly, the growth of data-driven culture. So I think that Gartner quote that Helena mentioned earlier is a great example of this. Organizations really want an agile data environment that's focused on driving business outcomes. And that's exactly what Tableau and Panoply provide. So now I'll hand it back over to Jason to wrap it up and go to questions.
Great, thanks everyone. One thing that we've also done with Tableau is, or we get the question a lot from our clients. I already have all my data sources. I already have a BI tool. Why do I need Panoply? And how do Panoply and Tableau work together to make my insights the fastest and most accurate? We actually did a case study late last year, and it's available on both the Panoply site and the Tableau site. And we benchmark Panoply plus Redshift versus just a traditional data warehouse. And we came up, through the results, and everything is visible and very transparent in the case study and white paper, is we had a 10x faster dashboard load times on Tableau with using Panoply and Redshift. So our customers can tell you that they're seeing very, very good results of using both of the products together, and the numbers tell the tale. Now I'm going to ask all the panelists to take yourselves off mute because I'm going to be asking questions. Some of them have come in. Again, if you have questions, thank you to everyone who has been putting them in the GoToWebinar chat facility. If you have more, go ahead and fire them off. But I'm going to ask some that have been put in the thing. The first one is from Hanson, and he asked, Helena and Rob, going back to steps 2 and 3, let me go back to that in the deck. He asked, what's going on? Is the data being pulled into the data warehouse in Redshift? There's a follow-up question about that as well. We're talking about this step right here.
So basically the data that lived in either a web platform, in this case, at this specific example, the data is like you need to log in to this web platform, and then you need to run a report, and then in the web platform you see the data. So the data you can see, and then you have lots of filters to see, let's say if you want to have a certain category or subcategory, or online channel versus in-store channel. So the data you can see, number 2, is already the data from those reports without the filtering. The filtering then becomes a column and lives in this SQL environment. I hope this answers your question.
Yeah, and then thank you. And then on a follow-up question, he or she asks, in the Rush example, you are connecting raw data non-modified. It seems to me that the definitions are held in Tableau. Is that a correct statement?
Yeah, it is raw, but in not Russia, we haven't had the need to clean the data or to prepare the data in this specific example, but we have done that. But we've done it in Panoply. So for instance, if a product name has got the pack size, so let's say Rob would like to know the price per pack, not per like per unit, not per pack. So the price per pack we usually have as a column, but then we've transformed the data so that from the title, the product name, we knew, let's say, toilet roll 4 rolls pack. The price would be the price divided by 4 would be the price per unit in the pack, if it makes sense. So we have done the transformation within Panoply, and we can do that as well in Tableau. So for example, some data sources, they don't give us like the sub-brand, and this is something that we wanted to have in the visualizations. So we can create in Tableau a group. So we amalgamate like in sub-brands the item name, for example. So it's very flexible, this solution, because you can do the transformations either from a Panoply side, creating a view table, or in Tableau.
Okay. And then another question for Kimberly-Clark. How do you maintain data governance? All these data sources coming in, where do you identify and document every metric and their global definitions so that we don't have repeated issues?
That's a great question as well. So basically, we do have, we need to follow some data sources. They are not harmonized. We do have a data harmonization project, which is, we work close with governance. Even like things, data quality is also something that we maintain. But again, we overlay another tool on top of it so that we can have it harmonized. So we use a lot of rules-based. When you know that, for example, there's a Ian, I think in the US you call something else GITN, something like that, or retail product code, for instance. If there is a hole and we don't have those to link one table with the other, we use the item name or description using like Fusion Match, for example, to be able to harmonize it all. Also, from a timing perspective, we need to have a certain governance. So retailer A, for example, they would have the week ending, let's say, on Sunday, and another one would have the week ending on Thursday, for example. So this is happening. We do have control, and we have all the documentations from the retailer so that we align the metrics. And we use some other sources to make sure that it is accurate. I'll give an example. For instance, some retailers, they give us only loyalty card data. Obviously, it's not going to be the 100% total market, but then we use other data sources to make sure that we're covering the whole market, if it makes sense.
It does. Thank you. Speaking of transformations, you were talking about transformations a second ago. This is a question for Matt, who's the data architect with Panoply. Do we have an architecture document? I don't understand how Panoply replaces ETL.
Yeah, we certainly have some sort of more technical documentation on our site that we can point you to. And then, yeah, as far as how Panoply can be ETL, that's a broader question. So there are a few quick answers. So Panoply comes with a host around 100 built-in so-called data connectors. These are broken up into a few categories. The most, let's say the largest would be the category of APIs. So these would be out-of-the-box connectors for applications like Salesforce, Marketo, HubSpot, Zendesk, what have you. Another category would be connectors for databases. So think SQL Server, MySQL, Postgres, and then we've got support for file systems and services like flat files, Excel spreadsheets, CSV files. These can all be loaded up through our UI with just a few clicks, right? You have to authenticate, select which resources or items you'd like to pull, and then they'll be imported into Panoply. In that process, we'll actually be applying a schema. So we'll be calculating which fields should be which types, what encodings make sense, how to compress the data, how we should actually form different tables so they can be joined on the fly. So in that sense, there's actually some transformation that happens at the import time. So that's certainly, I think, that's part of the ETL piece. The other part is once the data is actually imported in Panoply, you have complete free reign in terms of how you want to manipulate the data thereafter. So if you have some quality control checks you want to implement, if you have some really complex data transformations and aggregations that you need to apply to this raw data that's been loaded up, you can do that. So yeah, and then if you need to even go a step further, say, and extract data into like a pandas or an IPython notebook and do some statistical predictions or modeling, you can do that and then reinsert the results of those routines back into Panoply. So I guess that would be a few different ways we could do ETL.
Perfect. Perfect. Thanks, Matt. While I have you, here's a question. When you pull data sources in, who creates the curated fact tables after they are staged in an operational data store?
Well, so the user, obviously, with a big team, you'd probably have a handful of folks or, maybe one individual who is tasked with this. And so, within Panoply, you can log in and actually define essentially arbitrary transformations to save tables, new database objects that, can be fact tables, lookup tables, what have you.
Great, thank you. One last one that just came in. Do you essentially need Amazon Redshift to connect Panoply to Tableau?
So the underlying execution engine of Panoply is Redshift by and large. So we have a bunch of processes on top of it that manage and maintain and optimize it. We use S3 for some storage backups and staging, but the underlying SQL engine is Redshift. So yeah, in some sense, yes, and we host all of our instances. So hopefully that answers the question there.
It does, thank you. And then Riley, here's a question that has come in for Tableau. It says, I have a question for Tableau. To connect live from Tableau server to an Excel on a shared driver, I can access the Excel file in Tableau desktop, but when the workbook published to the Tableau server, it could not access the Excel file on the shared drive. Is that something we should maybe answer offline, Riley?
Yeah, we could take that offline. That's a bit more of a technical support type of question.
Okay. And then just so everyone knows, we are going to finish the webinar now, but we are going to be publishing a post on the Panoply community. So if you go to community.panoply.io, there's also a link on our homepage. We are going to go and answer every single question that was asked. So we will, and that'll also be a part of the follow-up email. If you would like a demo of what you've seen today, or if you have any other questions about what you've heard, go ahead and email hello@panoply.io. I promise you'll get an answer because I'm one of the people who help manage the inbox. So again, thanks everyone for their time. I want to extend a special thank you to Helena and Robert for taking the time to discuss your problem and your solution, and also to Riley and Matt who have helped answer some of the technical questions. Appreciate your time, and keep an eye on your inbox because we will send you a follow-up email with all the questions and answers. Thank you so much, everyone.